In Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, belts are awarded in the following order: white, blue, purple, brown, black, black and red, and then full red.
According to our grandfather, Grandmaster Elio Gracie, a blue belt should be awarded to anybody who can effectively defend themselves in a real street fight.
Now that you have completed the Gracie Combatives course, and you have perfected the most important street-tested techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, you qualify to be tested for promotion to blue belt. The easiest way to be evaluated is to film yourself conducting all 5 blue belt qualification drills, and then either send us the video or upload these videos to the internet for them to be evaluated by one of our certified Gracie Combatives instructors. For precise instructions on the video evaluation process, go to www.gracieacademy.com.
If you'd rather do your blue belt qualification test in person, you can go to gracieacademy.com and find a certified training center in your area.
Once you pass the blue belt qualification test using either of these 2 methods, your name will be added to the list of certified Gracie Jiu-Jitsu belt holders. And we're going to send you your blue belt in the mail along with a certificate of authenticity that proves you earned it the hard way.
So you would be an official blue belt.
As official as it gets, okay? Pass the test and it's all yours. Designed to test your effectiveness in the execution of all the Gracie combative techniques, these 5 blue belt qualification drills will be used to determine your eligibility for promotion. Once you perfect these drills, you can have your performance evaluated by a certified Gracie Combatives instructor in either of the 2 methods described in the previous section.
Each of these drills must be completed in less than 5 minutes, and while conducting them, we encourage you to speak to your partner so the moves can be done to the best of your ability.
In the next section, we're going to demonstrate exactly how we want you to execute the drills so you know what we're going to expect of you. In this drill, you will be required to demonstrate all the mount techniques, and you must do so in the exact order that we will show you now, starting with the mount escapes. First escape is trap and roll. We have 3 variations. Standard, punch block variation, headlock variation with hook removal, elbow escape, standard, elbow escape with hook removal, elbow escape with fish hook, elbow escape with heel drag, control strategies, starting with standard mount positional control. Side to side, check the base. Effective hip pressure, effective hooks. The low swim, stiff arm. High swim. Taking the back. The remount technique. Headlock counters from the mount. Preventing the get up. Back mount finish. Arm lock finish. Submission techniques, starting with Americana bench arm lock. Neck hug variation. Rear naked choke. Strong side variation. Weak side variation. Straight arm lock from the mount. Standard variation. Side variation. Twisting arm control. Back mount variation. Arm lock variation. In much less than 5 minutes, we did it. You can do it. Nice and slow. You're allowed to talk to your partner. Every technique in the exact order you just saw. Watch again if you need to. There it is. Now we will demonstrate the specific sequence of techniques for drill number 2. Starting with the guard punch block series. From here, stage 1, he pulls to stage 2. Fill the space. Fill the space, punch, punch, and drop them back into stage 1. Now, 1, 3, 1. 3, hands up, knees high. 1, 4. 1, 5. From stage 5, movement. Rollover technique. Rollover technique, other side. Stage 5 entry. Back to stage 1. Now, guard submission strategies. Starting with the triangle, stage 1.5 setup. He punches the body. Giant killer. Arm lock from the guard, low variation. High variation.
Triangle transition.
Kimura from the guard. Rider variation. Forced variation. Take the back from the guard. Sweeps from the guard. Elevator sweep. Standard variation. Headlock variation. Double ankle sweep. Knee thrust variation. Double ankle sweep, kick variation. Hook sweep. And finally, the guard pass. Double underhook guard pass. There you have it. Guard control strategies, guard submissions, guard sweeps, and guard passes. Now it's time for the side mount sequence. And remember, do it in the exact order that we're demonstrating now. Starting with positional control strategies. From the side mount. Standard positioning, wide, low base positioning here with your feet wide. Roll prevention, hand and foot. Guard prevention. Mount transition. Side mount escape strategies. Shrimp escape. Block and shoot variation. Shrimp and shoot variation. Punch block variation. Headlock escape number 1. Frame escape. Scissor failure. Super lock. Headlock escape number 2. Leg hook escape. Standard variation. Super base. Punch block variation. Elbow escape from the side mount. Knee drive variation. Elbow escape from the side mount. High step variation. So there you have it. All the side mount techniques, nice and slow. Make sure you follow the exact sequence we just demonstrated. This is the sequence we want you to follow when demonstrating the standing techniques, starting with the distance control strategies. Clinch on an aggressive opponent. Clinch on a conservative opponent. Defense against the haymaker punch. Now we have the takedowns, starting with the leg hook takedown. Body fold takedown. Double leg takedown against an aggressive opponent. Double leg conservative opponent. Pulling guard. Rear takedown. Standing submissions. Guillotine choke, standing variation. Guillotine choke, guard variation. Standing arm lock. Standing submission counters. Guillotine defense. Standing techniques, nice and slow. Go for it. Everything we have done up until this point has been to prepare you for the final fight simulation drill. In all the lessons we've conducted, we've done scripted fight simulation drills where you were supposed to learn how the techniques could possibly come together in a sequence that might exist in a real street fight. But in a street fight, there isn't a script. So it's extremely important, and the most important thing we want to see before we award you your blue belt is that you understand the connection between the techniques on your own, without a script and without someone telling you what to do. So for that reason, the final fight simulation drill and drill number 5 for your blue belt qualification test is we want to see you conduct a freestyle flow through all the techniques for at least 4 minutes, non-stop, no script, with a partner, just like this. I'm going to call out the techniques that I'm doing as I go. I'm just going to name the moves we're using so you see how, without a script, we just kind of freestyle through this. But when you demonstrate your sequence, you're allowed to talk to your partner, but there's no need to announce the techniques the way I'm doing right now.
Observe how the bad guy, myself, I'm acting as real as possible. It's very important to help him execute his moves the way he's learned.
It's completely cooperative. Together, you're working to create a natural flow and connect the moves from one to another in sequences that we may or may not have learned up until this point. So, let's say we start with the haymaker punch. Rear takedown. Straight arm lock. Or right back. Take the back. Flow. Strong side, rear naked choke. Remount technique. Maintain the mount. Low swim. High swim. Headlock counters from the mount. frame to arm lock. Catch and release the guard. Keep it flowing the whole time. Stage 1, punch block series. Stage 2, stage 2. Stage 4, punch block series. Let him back in, stage 1. Arm lock from the guard. Low variation. Triangle transition. Hips high. Allow your partner to side mount. Just keep it flowing. Headlock. Frame escape. Extended arm. Scissor variation. Side mount follow up. Side mount control. To the knees. Transition to the mount. Twisting arm control. Arm lock finish. Catch and release. Stage 5. Rollover technique. Movement. 4 and drop. Take the back from the guard. We're giving each other advice as we flow. We coach each other as we flow. Work the angle. Chop. Taking the back. Shoulder get up. Stay low. Strong side. Rear naked choke. Spin to guard. Elevator sweep. So we just call it and go. Side variation, straight arm lock. Hand up. Let's do a triangle. Protect, stage 1. From here, giant killer. Hold the wrist. Secure the wrist. Shrimp escape to guard. Shrimp and shoot variation. Elevator sweep, headlock variation. Headlock counter from the mount. Prevent the get up. Distraction to back mount. Weak side variation. Rear naked choke. Spin to guard. And let me get the mount. Let me get the mount. Good idea. I get the mount. Mount. Head. Punch block variation. Trap and roll. Keep your head close. Close guard pass. Posture. Distract. Tuck the elbows. Control. Modified side mount. Transition. Cooperative rollout. Cooperative rollout. Side mount. Side mount. Elbow escape. Elbow escape. Stage 4. Hook sweep. Base. Check my base. 1, 2, 3. Guard prevention. Hand out. Transition to mount. Hooks in. Maintain the mount. Low swim. Take the back from the mount. Control. Fall off. Cooperative fall off. Double ankle sweep. Kick variation. Stand up. Conservative. Double leg. Side mount. Base. Knees in tight. Mount. And Americana arm lock. Neck hug variation. So, now you have an idea. You can tell we were both contributing to the flow. That's completely okay and encouraged that you guys work together to just throw the techniques together. What we really want to see is that whatever comes at the person doing the techniques, they're ready for it. You're ready for any technique from any position. So try to change positions as often as you can. Get to as many different positions. Side mount, mount. I allow Heat on the mount sometimes. He gets side mounted. Wherever we end up, you want to make it happen. Now, we're going to
When these videos are submitted or when you conduct this test, what we're looking for is not intensity or competition amongst the two people conducting the drill. Really what we want to see is fluidity, relaxation, precision, and how many techniques you can include. We want to see as many different variations of all the techniques as possible. You're not going to include all of them, but in a 4-minute freestyle flow, final fight simulation drill, you should include a lot of them. So let it flow. Make sure you're extremely relaxed. It's not a competition. You're actually working together. See it more as a dance. Connection of the techniques than fighting against one another.
And you can go from standing to the ground, back to standing, back to the ground. No reason why not. Get up, do the guillotine defense. Don't forget the moves such as the guillotine defense or the standing headlock or letting someone mount you. Naturally, you're going to want to prevent the mount, but you saw how I asked Henner, let me mount you, because escaping the mount is extremely important.
Very important. So it doesn't matter. As long as you flow, include as many techniques as you can, and be very creative. Have fun with it, guys. Practice, and we can't wait to see what you have to offer. And if it's good enough, you guys know what's happening. Blue belt's coming your way.
If you ever get in a fight, the last thing you want to do is try to knock somebody out and try to win the fight. Forget winning. Just worry about not losing. Just don't get beat up. Don't get punched.
If you ask my grandfather how he defeated those giants that he fought way back in the day, generations ago, he says, I never beat anybody. They lost. So with the techniques of jiu-jitsu, he positions himself so effectively, lets them exhaust all their energy and lose. And that kind of brings out the essence of Gracie jiu-jitsu, which is, it's based on, more than anything, a counterattack strategy. We like the idea of letting the opponent attack us, give away his strategy, and then, of course, defending to neutralize that attack, and then waiting while he exhausts, trying to beat us up as much as he can, and then in exhausting all his energy, of course, then we can defeat him with ease. So if you're fighting someone bigger, the only reliable way to defeat them is to force them to exhaust their energy first so that when they run out, you can win them with ease. Because to win them with power and explosiveness is going to be hard if it's not the right time, for sure.
This might even happen from the bottom of the fight. So you might even fall underneath somebody, get taken down, and still you have the ability to not get knocked out. And after a minute, 2 minutes, they can barely throw a punch, and that gives you time to do a submission or reverse the position, of course.
So the key to success in a street fight is knowing what attacks are likely to come at you. You know, and that's, of course, what the indicators are. Knowing the attacks that are likely to come at you, and then perfecting your ability to very sharply, very precisely respond to them and take advantage of what your opponent gives you. So don't decide that you want to win in an arm lock. Be open to whatever they give you. You don't choose how you want to win. They decide how they lose unknowingly. And then, of course, you take advantage of it with one of these very efficient leverage-based submissions that we've taught you. Now, as you guys know, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu consists of over 600 techniques. And perfecting the most important 36 techniques, the Gracie combative techniques, is required before you're even considered for your blue belt, because those are the ones that prove to us that you are prepared to effectively defend yourself against a larger opponent in a real street fight. So once you perfect those, you're good. But, of course, there are those remaining 500 or 600 techniques. And perfecting all of those is what you will need to do before you're ever considered for your black belt. There's something that we like to talk about, which are the 4 different types of opponents, the 4 levels of opponents you could find in a street fight. A level 1 opponent is this person who is your size or smaller, who doesn't have any knowledge or any training of martial arts or jiu-jitsu. A level 2 opponent is someone who's bigger than you and has no experience, no training. Level 3 opponent is someone your size who knows some jiu-jitsu, who has some training. And a level 4 opponent is someone who's bigger than you and who also has had some exposure to the techniques. And once you can defeat all of those confidently, a bigger opponent who is well-versed in jiu-jitsu, that's when you're getting close to black belt.
Since the goal is a black belt, of course, try to not make the goal a black belt. Too many students are always like, I want to get a black belt, and can I get in 8 years, 6 years, 10 years? Forget about the black belt, and that's the fastest way to get there, number 1. And as you forget about it, not only do you want to learn for yourself to make yourself better in jiu-jitsu, but the more you help people and the more you talk about jiu-jitsu and show examples and try to somewhat teach somebody, that's going to help you grow unbelievably. Part of the reason why we're so comfortable and we're so fluid and so good is because we've been teaching jiu-jitsu since we were 6 years old, 7, 8 years old. So helping even each other. I'll be 6, he's 4, and I'm helping him at 6. I'm 10, I have my own 5-year-old student, so that really helped, and that's why we are.
It doesn't matter what point you are at, or what point you are at in your careers, your jiu-jitsu careers.
anytime you have to explain a move or you can explain a move to somebody else, you have to understand that move well enough to do it, but also well enough to break it down for them. So if they can't do it or they have a difficulty and you're able to clarify it for them and help them do it, that shows how deep your understanding is of the technique. So literally with every student that we have here at the Gracie Academy, we learn the technique better and better because it forces us to to formulate our presentation and customize it for each student, making sure everyone can do the move. And that has been kind of the most important thing in our learning process was of course helping the students. So like Hidon said, don't rush to the black belt. That, of course, is just a recognition of your mastery of all the techniques and your ability to defeat practically anyone. But along the way, just focus on the techniques, refinement 100%, and you should be good to go. The Gracie combative techniques in this course that you, of course, have learned are enough to prepare you for a level 2 opponent, someone your size or bigger who has no training in jiu-jitsu. As soon as they have some training or they know the moves as well, you're going to need more techniques to undo their knowledge and, of course, eventually defeat them. And the better you know these techniques, the larger the opponent it will work on. So just learning them for the first time doesn't mean it automatically works against a 600-pound unskilled opponent. Okay, so you learn them, perfect them, and the sharper you get with the execution, the bigger the opponent it works on. And, of course, that is the final goal, to beat a much larger unskilled opponent, but also eventually, once you've mastered that, to be able to defeat someone your size or even bigger who has some exposure to jiu-jitsu. Now, if the person is bigger than you and they know more jiu-jitsu than you and they're sharper and they're better than you, then you have a problem. So perfect your jiu-jitsu to such a level that you can undo or defeat any larger opponent.
And to that note, you never stop perfecting it. My grandfather is 94, 95, and he, till today, he'll come to me and say, Hidon, look at this new move right here. Something he kind of not really created a whole new move, but a variation of something. So he always pulls us onto the mat to show us a detail, and that's him at home thinking because he might have one student at 95 years old.
So if all of Gracie's jiu-jitsu is a huge tree, see the Gracie combative techniques as the trunk, the most important techniques that will remain the same and are the make it or break it techniques. And then, of course, the tree will continue to grow forever. So make your own tree, but trunk it with the Gracie combative techniques, and you're good to go. People often wonder whether or not they need to learn a striking art to complement their techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And the answer is no. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is a complete art in itself. And the strategy of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is to avoid getting knocked out at all costs, control your opponent, and then submit them with a leverage-based strategy. And the reason we advise against someone learning how to use strikes to win in a real street fight is because if you're fighting someone who's much taller, much heavier, and much stronger than you, your attempt to strike them as a means of victory will put you within range to get punched. So every time you throw a punch, you're at risk of getting knocked out in return. So because of that, it's important that when you get into the fight, your mindset and your strategy is solid, and you're very well aware of what you want to do, and you don't veer on that. So learning another art could possibly conflict with that. Now, some people, because they want to practice mixed martial arts, they want to be a professional fighter and fight in the cage, in that case, it would not be wrong to learn a striking art because you're getting judged by judges based on your performance, and they're judging you based on your striking ability. So to satisfy the judges, and because it's a 5-minute round, and the judges will decide who wins after the 5-minute round is up, you have to be explosive and crazy and use all kinds of energy. And the reason you can get away with it in a cage as well is because you are fighting someone your same size, your same weight class. But if you use that same explosive, crazy, very energetic strategy in a street fight against a larger opponent, and you exhaust in 7 minutes because you were trying to knock them out so crazy, you're kind of out of luck because now you have no more energy. There is no judge to save you or give you points for your thrown punches that missed. And now you're going to rely on, of course, your leverage-based techniques of jiu-jitsu. So we advise you save the energy up front and focus on the techniques.
If you go back and you watch the first couple Ultimate Fighting Championships, you see that that's when you really don't need striking because when the fight goes to the ground, the fight stays on the ground. And today what happens? After 1 minute on the ground, they stand you up. So if you don't know how to strike, you're going to be in some kind of trouble. But of course, UFC 1, you go to the ground, you're on the ground for 20 minutes, no problem, and that's how a real fight goes down.
There's really no referee or no judges to stop you and separate you and stand you back up. So in conclusion, if you're training to fight professionally in those circumstances and in that very specific set of rules that doesn't exist in a real fight, if that's what you're training for, learning a striking art is necessary because you're going to be fighting someone your same weight class, and judges will determine whether or not you win or lose based on your performance. But if you're training purely for street, for a larger opponent, the way we train and the way we teach our students here at the Gracie Academy, you do not need strikes, but you do need to know how to avoid them. And that is half the strategy of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So, strikes, not necessary for the street, but in the cage, might be helpful.